What's going on, everybody? My name is Ben, and welcome back to the bench for a brand new episode here on Sci-Fi Wednesdays. We are back at it, guys, and today is the very first day of construction for our Podracer, and I'm very excited to see what we can do with that. So we're going to jump in there today, guys. We're going to focus on the engines. We're going to focus on priming, painting, light blocking, getting those LEDs figured out, and we're going to go from there. So first and foremost, let's check out the parts. And I've already kind of looked at these off camera, and I got to say the engines are very well detailed. However, they're going to be a little bit of a pain to put together. They're not just two halves to make the whole engine. It's actually 4 quadrants for each engine. So it's going to be a little troublesome getting those all lined up so we don't have anything that looks out of round. Other than that, though, I think all the detail on these are fantastic. We shouldn't have to do much in terms of scratch building, maybe a little bit here and there, but for the most part today, we're just going to get the basic engines together and figure out those LEDs, light blocking, painting, priming, and all that fun stuff. So let's go ahead and jump right into our first time lapse. Let's work on these engines, get the halves built up, work on that nozzle and the engine cone, and we'll see what we can do. So let's get started. Let's have some fun. Alright everybody, so we are back, and as you can see here, we've got the engines, at least half of them put together. We've got them all primed up with Mr. Surfacer, and now we're going to move over to our light blocking, and this is going to be just some basic acrylic paint. We picked this up from Hobby Lobby. It's cheap, it's effective, we can just brush it on. No fuss, no hassle. Really great stuff for light blocking. Plus, I don't have to use any of my more expensive modeling paint like Tamiya or Gunzi or anything else. So let's just go ahead and take this acrylic paint. We're going to paint the insides of all of the 4 sections of engine, and we're going to make sure to block off the center discs that we punched out in our time lapse, because there is a bit of an opening, like a pass-through between the rear of the engine and the front of the engine. And to go ahead and block that off, I punched out a couple of styrene discs, went ahead and dropped them in, glued them down, and I'm going to cover those inside and outside with our light blocking black paint, just to make sure we don't have any light bleed from the engine LEDs all the way into the front section of the engine itself. We're just going to go ahead and apply this black paint, making sure to get around the different vents, making sure that anything that might be a little bit of a dangerous area for a light leak, we're going to cover it up with the black paint, And that's all we're going to do. Nothing fancy. This is great stuff. Super easy to do. So you don't have unnecessary light bleeding into areas that shouldn't be lit up. We're going to go ahead and finish this off. We'll do it off camera. We'll finish this up. Then we'll be back and I'll talk a little bit about our next step. So give us 1 second, guys. We'll be right back. So now that we have everything nicely light blocked with our black acrylic paint, we're going to grab some all-clad black basing and we're going to shoot that gloss black over the entire rear portion of the engine. So the engine cone, that little nozzle that sticks off the back of it, we're going to hit it all with the gloss black, and then we're going to come back, we're going to hit it with some RAF high-speed silver. It's a really nice looking metal color. I think that's going to be great for the basic engine metal. So back into that time lapse, guys. Let's keep pushing on. Let's see what else we can do. Alright guys, so now we have our high-speed silver and our black basing on the ends of the engines, on the cone, and then that surround section as well. So now we're going to go ahead and work on the LEDs, and my initial plan is not going to work. So instead, we're going to alter the plan just a little bit. So first of all, I'm going to take my LED filament and I'm going to attach ribbon cables to the positive and the negative side. I'm going to be using this purple and gray ribbon cable. We're going to separate the cable itself and we're going to go ahead and attach the gray length of wire onto the negative terminal here on the LED filament. That's going to give us a little bit more leeway as to where we put these wires. I've also gone ahead and drilled a very tiny hole between the post itself and the backing that fits into the engine. I've got a little hole right there, and that's going to act as a pass-through for one of the cables, either positive or negative. Once I have that done, I also need to add in one other hole. We're going to drill down right through the center of this, and then we'll be able to pull the wire out through that cavity right in the middle of that center post. So then I can have both positive and negative wires heading out towards the back of this engine compartment. We can tie them up with the rest of it, string the wires through, drop it down to the bottom of the engine, and we'll be good to go. Now for this end of the wire, I'm going to go ahead and bend the tip of the LED filament at a nice 45-degree angle so it drops right into place. And then I'm going to slowly start wrapping that LED filament around the center column. And once I get to the end of this wrap, we'll have one little hole as well that I can push through that gray wire, and we will be in business. That's going to keep it nice and tight. If I'm worried about it, I can drop a little bit of maybe clear resin or maybe some super glue or something to keep those wires in place. But I've got these pulled pretty tight, so I think we'll be okay. Now let's go ahead and just hook them up to our battery pack, just a real rough, quick twist. Pop in that battery, and as you can see, this is what it looks like. Not too bad. Then we'll take our engine cone, we'll just drop that right over top of that, and you can kind of get an idea that we've got that nice glow kind of projecting out the back of the engine, so I think it looks pretty good. Now, unfortunately, I did prematurely drill a couple of holes in the backing here, and I'm going to have to fill those up. So I'm going to use some bits of sprue to go ahead and push through the holes, glue them down, cut them off, sand them down, and then we can reapply our black basing and come back in and touch up with whatever color we need. In this case, RAF high-speed silver. I also want to go ahead and reprime the inside of the outer engine nozzle. I want to paint that in chrome so that hopefully ends up reflecting the light and pushing it out the back a little bit more. So let's get back into the time lapse. We need to finish off these LEDs. We're going to go ahead and jump into the engine, paint those up, get them ready to go, hit them with black basing, hit them with RAF high-speed silver, and then we'll touch up a little bit here and there on the engine nozzles, and I think we'll be good to go. So back in there, guys. Let's push on. Let's finish off strong. Alright everybody, so we are back and I've done quite a bit of work here on different areas for the engines and I'm very happy with what we've got so far. So first of all, let me talk a little bit about the LEDs, and off camera I went ahead and soldered together 2 of these smaller pink LED filaments, and as you can see, when we put some power to them, they have a very nice neon pink glow. And that's going to be perfect for our tether between the right and left engine. So as you can see, looks pretty cool. We also attached our LED filaments to the engine nozzles. They look pretty good. You can kind of see the filament unfortunately, but if I angle them ever so slightly, should stay a bit more on the hidden side. Let's go ahead and hook these up though to our battery pack and you can kind of get a feel for what these look like. We can go put positive to positive, negative to negative, and click that battery in. You can see we've got some light for our engines. The inside is coated in that nice all-clad chrome, so I'm hoping to get a little bit more light reflection out the back, but I think honestly it's just what I was looking to do, so I'm pretty happy with that. These will eventually be mounted onto the ends of the engines, but for right now we're going to leave them off because I might want to do a little bit more work on those, but I think we are close to being finished. Now for the engines themselves, as you can see, we did overcoat with black basing and we hit it with the RAF high-speed silver. I think they look really cool. I like the bit of aged metal look that we've achieved here, but we've got a lot of other parts and pieces that have to go go onto this. So for example, we have LED filaments that will have to be pushed in through the side area right here where our coupler will be. I did actually drill this out a little bit more than what was in the kit because I want to make sure I can fit both of the filaments through the opening, but that'll be somewhere right around here. And also we need to come back in and add in all the extra piping as well as a little bit of touch-up color here and there, some blue, some red, some yellow. We also have to hook on this section right here, which I'm not really sure what it is, some form of intake, but this is going to be red and it drops right down on top of the engine. Luckily for me, it does hide the seam because there are some seams that are a bit more prominent than I'd like them to be. Unfortunately though, with the amount of detail that's actually on this engine, it's very difficult to get in there and remove seam lines. So using a part like this to cover it up works perfectly for me. No problem whatsoever. Then of course I can come in, I can make sure that this is chipped just ever so slightly because it is at the bottom of the engine. So it'll probably pick up dust or rocks or grime. So we'll do a little bit of weathering and yeah, I think we're on the right track. Plus with the tether going across the engines, I'm hoping it's going to really grab your eye. But that is it, guys. I think we are done for today. We've done a lot of work where LEDs are more or less figured out. We've got our engines all nicely painted up in our base color of RAF high-speed silver. Next episode, we're going to be back. We'll work more on the engines, try to get some more piping done, try to work on some of the other parts. So yeah, lots to do, but it's going to be a blast. So until our next episode, guys, you know the drill. Go out there, get yourself some bench time, have some fun, build something cool. Make sure to come back next week for episode 3, where we'll do more on the engines, get this thing one step closer to being finished. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Take care of yourselves, and we'll see you soon.